What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Well, today we are once again talking about Christian movies. I know I've made a video where I bashed them, and I talked about, just kind of bashed them, basically, which wasn't, okay, whatever. But today I want to actually talk about how to make a good movie, because I feel like so many of the things that they do that isn't a good movie could work really, really well in pretty much any movie. We just need to figure that out. All right. Okay, so I have some questions. I have some people who are going to weigh in. They're not going to be on camera with me right now, but we will hear from them later. So the question I have is for them and for you, my audience, and so feel free to comment, etc., etc. Give me your opinions. When you watch a movie, what is one thing that you remember that makes you want to rewatch it and recommend it to friends? You're like, that was a good movie. You got to see it in the theater this weekend, or you got to get it on DVD as soon as you can, whatever. I know for me, when I watch a movie, because I'm a story person, I'm a storyteller, I love a good plot. There's the argument, is it plot driven? Is it character driven? I think a good plot is key. I love when stories inspire me and have relatable lessons, which, I mean, if you watch my channel at all, you know I love Lord of the Rings, so that probably doesn't surprise you because I love symbolism. But I also love Marvel, which does not have as many, it does have lessons, it's not symbolism, but it has some cool battles or action sequences. But I have a question for you. What are some that you love?
I always remember the score. If I like it, I listen to it on repeat. I sometimes work out to the portal sequence music from Endgame because it gets me really pumped up.
Well, I don't work out very much, but I can imagine. I know I hum songs from Narnia and Middle Earth all the time, along with the opening credits, along with like the menu version. I did that all the time when I would watch the Narnia movie as a kid, which I watched constantly. If you don't believe me, ask my mother. Maybe I'll make her send a video of her saying like, yeah, I can attest. Make her testify to this. And I literally made over the summer, when I had to have my phone ring on because it was getting calls for work, I made the Three Hunters, like, do, 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 my ringtone. And my mom just rolled her eyes. She's just like, whatever. Anything else?
Well, I love it when the characters feel like real people, even if they do crazy things. I love when they have lessons that I can learn from them.
I totally get where you're coming from there on the characters. Excuse me. I know that is a huge thing for me. Again, like we already talked about, character driven, plot driven, however that works. I love my characters, just to be really cool. I can learn from them. But if they're really attractive and or funny, that's a huge bonus. Hi, Captain America. Hi, Aragorn. That's why I love you. But yeah, so that's actually what I want to talk about today. I'm going to spend the majority of my time because I've already talked about plot and show don't tell a lot. If you want to learn more about that, watch my other video. So my follow-up question is, do characters need to be perfect?
No, I actually prefer the opposite. They feel more real when they have flaws and struggles.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You totally hit the nail on the head. I was actually, but didn't work out. I was going to have a dress and pointy ears. I'm actually thinking about wearing my random pointy ears just randomly to class. I think that'd be fun, but I don't know if I should. But anyway, and I want to talk because I want to talk today about a good script and good characters. Don't take a big budget to have. You don't need a big budget to do that. And I also want to talk about specific characters from various films and what makes them awesome. If you are a Middle Earth fan and you spend any amount of time in the comments section, in online discussion groups. Some people, there's a mixed review. Arwen gets mixed reviews. I feel like, especially like Seth, who's in a lot of my videos, can't stand her in the movies or doesn't like her at all. Which sorry Seth, you're weird. But to each their own. You're entitled to your own opinions, obviously. But that she's kind of considered boring in some ways. But people, at least in the trilogy, but people still love her. I mean, I know I've said on numerous occasions that I want to be more like her in how I interact with my dad. Like, I want to model that in how she interacts with her dad, and also how she's a partner with a romantic partner for Aragorn. I think that's just really powerful. I want to be more like that. I mean, I'm single as a Pringle, but we'll see. Single as a Pringle and ready to mingle. But I've already done a video about that. Not about me being single, but about Arwen and why I love her. So I'm just going to link that up there. There's no reason to waste time, not spend time talking about that. So we've already mentioned the MCU, Endgame, etc. Since that is the highest grossing movie franchise of all time, that's a perfect example to pull from. What are some MCU characters that people absolutely love?
Iron Man, Loki, Captain America, Thanos.
Okay, those are all awesome. I mean, Captain America is my personal favorite. And what do all those characters have in common?
Well, they all have arcs and relatable character traits.
Yes, exactly. That's what I really want to talk about. I feel like the biggest problem with Christian movies is that the characters don't feel like real people that deal with real world struggles. And even if the struggles are real, the way they deal with them doesn't feel like something a real person would do. And we also don't get enough time with them to really emotionally connect with them. Therefore, a tragedy and the multiple scenes that follow don't have the impact that the 10-minute, I think it's maybe even less, maybe it's like 5 minutes, married life sequence in Up, or Jesse's backstory from Toy Story 2. I mean, I was literally just rewatching that movie and almost in tears listening to the song When Somebody Loved Me. It's kind of crazy how much Pixar makes us feel for toys and couples and a couple that are animated that we just met. Returning to the MCU, it's ironic that while they are known for fantastic battles and awesome storylines, sometimes they're best known for the simple things that they do. Most comment that Captain America's line at the end of the first Captain's line, "Yeah, it's."
I had a date.
At the end of the first Avenger is one of the saddest movie lines ever. Even my mom thought it was sad, and when we watched the movie together. And she has mixed feelings about the franchise. Actually, she just said over Thanksgiving she only likes like 3 of the movies, or 2 of the movies. Or Tony's simple line,
I am Iron Man.
widely considered the best part of the first Iron Man movie. And it's so simple. When I watched it for the first time, I had no idea how they were going to pay it off later. And I still loved it. But why are these lines so effective, and why did Endgame make so much money? I mean, the smashy bang bang is part of it. But still, it also helps that Marvel dedicated so much time into helping us connect emotionally with the Avengers. And they also gave them fantastic arcs. Christian filmmakers may argue that there's no way they can do what the MCU did because that would be out of their budget. They can't afford to do all the cool battles and spectacle. But that isn't what non-comic book fans like yours truly, I've never read a single comic book in my entire life, get invested in. Isn't what made me get invested and keep watching. In my opinion, what really makes them so amazing is the fantastic journey that the characters go on, and the transformation that happens to them we get to experience and learn from along with them. Characters don't need to be perfect to be good protagonists. Can I say that again? Can I get an amen? When we meet Tony Stark, he's a womanizing creep that sleeps around and is selfish and rude. If he went to therapy, he'd be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. And he doesn't change overnight because of a bit of the bump in the road. Granted, the characters in Christian movies that are bad aren't as bad as he is. But Professor Radisson just changes like that. Granted, it's a scary experience. Well, no, he doesn't even change. It's not getting hit by the car that changes him. He's already starting to change. He's already changed. But anyway, Tony goes through a really long captivity and a lot of crap to become the devoted family man we see in Endgame. And again, it's not just like a straight line like this happens, boom, he's different. He's different. He's a little bit different. Then he changes. Then he slips back. Then he changes. Then he slips back. And it's just a steady process up until the last moments of his life when he makes a heroic decision. I would even argue that RDJ plays him, that Iron Man's arc, Iron Man's transformation looks more like what God does to us than most Christian movies do. Because we see the process. We see that it's just not as simple, straightforward, he changes. He prays a simple prayer and changes. Because, yes, that can happen to Christians, but so often it's just a steady process. It's a steady moving in the right direction. My favorite professor here at Liberty, one of my favorite professors here at Liberty said, sanctification, with sanctification, you get further under the cross, not above the cross. Sanctification, and Tony doesn't become sanctified because you do need Christ for that. But his transformation, his change, and he also learns that he needs people. Hello, Christians? We need people. We can't change we can't change without Jesus, but we also need our brothers and sisters in Christ. And so he goes through this whole process, and we experience it along with him. We learn the lessons, because even if we're not womanizing creeps, I don't think very many guys are like that. Honestly, I don't. I have a lot of faith in men. I believe a lot of men are, more Faramir's, Aragorn's, Captain America's, at least want to be. I don't know, I'm sure there's some. But we get to learn lessons along with him. And we learn from him no matter what our situation is. Now, does Robert Downey Jr., charismatic, charming, etc., help the process along? Absolutely. You need good actors for a good movie. Actually, I'm going to actually show you a clip, because Cinema Therapy, one of my favorite YouTube channels, you should check them out if you haven't, actually talks about this, about acting and in a couple of their videos. So let's just watch those, because they say better than me.
What does this scene say to you? How does it speak to you?
A whole lot of movie-making tricks are just tricks, and you don't need them. If you've got Lionel Barrymore and Jimmy Stewart going at it, you can just put a camera there, and just go.
Yeah,
and it's awesome.
It's literally two angles.
That's it. That's all you've got. It's three, because he stands up and then you got that.
Right.
But there's so little that happens. The other thing is, this is a pet hobby horse of mine. I don't know if I came up with this or if I stole it from somewhere and I just haven't acknowledged it. But in my opinion, great acting comes down to two things. It's reactions and transitions, emotional transitions. So obviously, the biggest part of acting is reacting to whoever your scene partner is.
Right.
So you get angry. What is my response to that? The other thing that makes an actor's performance believable and arresting is seeing them transition emotionally from one state to another.
Mm-hmm.
So Jimmy Stewart transitioning in that moment when he grabs his hand, you can see in his eyes and in his face. And
initially, it's excitement and enthusiasm. Like,
he is thrilled. This is the best thing that's ever happened to him. Grabs the hand, and you can see his face just go, no. And it's not big, obvious like I just did. It's very subtle and small, but you see everything. You see it tick over in his brain, and it's not
the pain,
one
the
thing.
shame, the disgust.
You get all of it.
Yeah.
You get all of it. Rapid fire. You're seeing 5 or 6 different emotions in 2 seconds.
Even like what he does with his hand.
Clear.
Like, what if my hand's all gross now because I just shook Potter's hand?
It's incredible, and that's what great actors do. Is they give you a window into that.
Yeah.
Right.
Why this
special effect in Hollywood is this? It is an actor's face. If you have Robin Williams delivering those fantastic lines, you don't need a lot. You don't need music. You don't need cuts. You don't need anything. Towards the end of that, it gets to Matt Damon's face. I love that the first cut to him is just him blankly staring. There's no expression on his face. There's no nothing. But as an audience member, you can see, without him doing a whole bunch of facial gymnastics, you can see the wheels turning and him just like breaking down inside and going, yeah, he's got me.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to show it.
Yep, he's just trying to hide it.
All right. Isn't that great? I mean, that's so true. I mean, the best special effect is this, is an actor's face. You don't need a big budget to have a good actor delivering good lines. And, I mean, you do need to be able to pay them. You just need actors that can emote. And we might bring that up later. But it isn't necessary to have a bad character go to this amazing pillar or whatever. Captain America is another beloved hero. People go back and forth which one's better, Cap or Iron Man. And he isn't a jerk when we meet him. He's a pillar of virtue, and he never loses his core values. But as I've already mentioned, we get invested in his relationship with Peggy and care about the choices he makes. I personally love that he's an old-fashioned hero. I mean, that's why I prefer him to Iron Man. I love that side. It's I'm the lady. I don't know what it is. People, I don't know. Whatever. I just think it's funny. I don't know. Some people probably think it's funny the woman I relate to and the type of guys I like. But I really do like the old-fashioned gentleman, the old-fashioned hero. And of course, again, award-winning actor that plays him to perfection. How are you without that? He's a fantastic character. I mean, I think they had John Krasinski up to play him. I like John Krasinski as much as the next person, but he's no Chris Evans. I'm sorry. And speaking of actors that play characters perfectly, we have to talk about Loki, played by the fantastic Tom Hiddleston. He's a villain. A villain. A villain! And people still think he's interesting and couldn't wait to watch his show. Now, I loved it. I did have to watch a spoiler review of it every week to understand what's going on, but I still loved it. This is another example of a relationship that makes the character. Audiences cared about his relationship with Thor and believed they really cared about each other, so their falling out was really sad. It wasn't just like, oh, they don't talk to each other anymore. Okay. I mean, pardon me. I mean, I'm an emotional person. I'm not a crier, but whatever. This just affects me more. And while we're on the subject of essential relationships, we have to talk about Thanos, the big baddie of the Infinity Saga. The reason why you want him to be defeated, but don't hate him, is because of his relationship with Gamora. It humanizes him and makes him more than just a cardboard character. I also want to talk about what the MCU does to perfection. Another thing the MCU does to perfection, which is setting up stakes and actually paying them off. Actions have consequences. I'm gonna do a crazy scenario here. Can you imagine if the Kendrick brothers had directed directed Civil War, well, if Steve and Tony had even fought, they wouldn't have said the things they did to each other. And Tony would not have been as angry because he believed it must have been God's will. Oh well. And when Bucky and Steve were walking away, Tony would, and you know what? Everything turned out okay because I learned so much, and I wouldn't have learned all those lessons if my mom and dad hadn't died. And when Bucky and Steve were walking away, Tony would have yelled after them, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have yelled at you," and everything would have been okay, even though they literally tried to kill each other. Or how about Infinity War? Well, I can guarantee that I don't think Thanos would have snapped. Or Thanos wouldn't have won. Or if he had snapped, Cap would have prayed over the ashes and people would have, or the dust, whatever it is. It looks like ashes to me. People would have come back. And if Endgame had been necessary, Tony definitely would have died. So yeah, spoiler alert for the MCU. But, okay, I got a little snarky there. But seriously, okay. I mean, sorry. I know. It's a hot take, at least in some of my circles. As we've already said, it doesn't require a huge budget and fantastic special effects to make a good movie. And yeah, as I've already said, I already showed the clips of Cinema Therapy about how this best special effect in Hollywood is this. And a lot of the movies that they were talking about, I'm going to talk about it more now. And I'll just, It's Wonderful Life. That's classic. I don't know, is Good Will Hunting considered a classic? This was made before special effects were made. Before there was a lot of special effects, and if they had them, they looked weird. So, arguably movies without a lot of special effects look better in this time period. Looked better in this time period. Sorry. But I only remember things about God's Not Dead because it was such a big deal for a while. And I have in mind a still trap for movie plots. And honestly, if I never see it again, I'll be okay with that. That would be my life would be happier if I didn't have to see a God's Not Dead movie for the rest of my life. If they stop making them, please stop making them. I'm sorry, but you need to. It's just looking like a cash grab now. My point is this. What is all this about? Am I bashing them? No. Am I bashing them just to bash them? No. I'm constructively criticizing for a purpose, which is kind of the definition of constructive criticism. My point is, while Christian filmmakers may have beautiful goals and mission statements, they often don't accomplish them because their movies aren't very watchable. And some simple changes, such as writing more believable characters and actually setting up scenarios that feel real, or so unbelievable it's obviously fantasy. I know Marvel couldn't happen in real life, and there isn't a ring of power or a magical wardrobe, so those things couldn't exist within reality anyway. And if you want a formula or a recipe, I can give you some. Write believable characters, take them on a journey that has consequences. Don't be afraid to put them in some really terrible circumstances or even good circumstances. Just make the audience care. Make the audience care, please. And then have them learn their lessons along the way and let the viewers learn along with them. But please, 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 please make it subtle. And cast actors that can actually act with their faces without looking ridiculous. If you aren't comfortable with having non-Christians write your film, I addressed that in my previous videos. Why do the Kendrick brothers have to write their movies? Maybe it's an option to have them help with casting and say, sorry, he can't act. No, she can act. He can act. Just a thought, just throwing that out there. And I want to make something very clear because I've been kind of mean. Even some people might say, you're just mean. So please listen to me. listen, if you've been checked out, listen. If you show me a script that I can buy into and believe in, and you need investors, I will definitely help you out if I can. I want there to be good Christian movies. I want there to be. I want to be able to recommend Christian movies to my friends. But I don't feel like I can do that right now. So anyway, thank you so much for listening to my rant. And if you see this David A.R. White and the Kent brothers, I really do want you to succeed in your mission, and I hope you can make better films. And to the rest of my audience, please like, share, comment, and if you're new here and like what you see, check out some of my other videos right here and hit that subscribe button. Bye, guys.